Well, good morning, everybody. Sorry, I actually was working on this last night, and then Toronto hockey game. I didn't even watch Edmonton's. I fell asleep, which is good because I have a big day ahead of me into this evening, and then of course tomorrow morning for the B7 summit that everybody should be at. If you're in Ontario and Quebec, you should be going there because that's our chance to present to Pete Hoekstra, Ambassador of the United States to Canada, our only way to the President of the United States, now available to us. A lot of people don't see history as it really is, what Donald J. Trump is doing epically after yesterday's release. It's in this link of this title. It goes through absolutely what USA just signed on with Qatar, a country USA enjoys a trade surplus with. Qatar, a very small country, announces major investment into the United States. In fact, lots of countries announcing major investments into the United States, signing on to deal after deal after deal, which brings me to this monumental presentation. I think it's just over 60 slides now. Has to be done because history is important. And actually, there's a portion here contributed by Benjamin Ebley. I'm going to go back after and tag him. I'm going to tag a few people in this. Excuse me. But what has to be gone through is all of Canada's history before Canada was even a country, why Canada became a country, what its purpose is. Now, I've gone through that lots, but we need to look at history as it is, what's happened to Canada before, where we were on the brink, what came out of that, and then where we are today in Donald Trump's originalism, a Republican, where he's going, where he promised to go, that nobody should not see. This has been articulated very well by the president, by the White House, by the GOP for many months now. And day after day, week after week, month after month, we're seeing it. And it's getting to the point critical for Canada. But Canadians don't want to believe it. They don't want to see it. Again, tomorrow, everybody, B7 Summit, National Arts Centre, Ottawa, Ontario, 8 a.m. We're not going there to protest. I'm going to be in suit and tie. Everyone dressed well. We're just going to be handing out flyers to all those entering, going into the summit. We're going to be right out front. It's not a protest. It's a presentation. We have lots of flyers to hand out. We'll talk with those from the G7, at least the business leaders who write the G7, and the Americans who are going to be there who are writing the program for the G7. You're going to see that in this B7 meeting, the 51st year of the B7 creating the G7 summit later in Alberta. We'll be there too. Folks, this goes through everything. This goes through what USA is transitioning into, where they're going. You're going to see the monumental amount of states. Half the states in the Union have signed on to this program. This does not include Alberta, Ontario, Quebec, or any other provinces in Canada, but these three have been hit very hard. Everything you're being told by every political party in Canada is epically false. It's in ignorance absolutely of what's happening, what's been promoted for at least 8 months publicly, and we're watching again USA transition into it. So I'm going to go through it by the numbers, by the documents, by the releases. We're going to look at history of Canada, before Canada, the British North America subjects who ultimately paid a price with the United Kingdom and then visited the idea of statehood back then and were rejected by the United States. What the United States did to British North America to force their hand, and what Donald J. Trump is doing now at a much, much larger and more epic and effectual rate than Canada has ever seen before it was a country and after it's been a country. The days of subsidization from the United States are over. This is going to get into Alberta. This is going to hurt a lot of feelings. Before I do that, I want to make a statement out to 51st Staters, Canada 51st Staters. I brought forward a presentation, I call it CUSNAFA, a Canadian, U.S., North American Helsinki Act. And it's been done in history. It's Europe. It's the allies of World War II, specifically USA, Russia. Absolutely. What they've agreed to and they've done for many, many allies. Their promise of never again. And what they do for folks like ourselves who are trying to make changes, trying to get those models incepted, but we face overwhelming opposition. In fact, we're called traitors, treasonous, constantly attacked. And I made that act, that inception that I take from First Nations as well as other historical examples, amalgamate them together. I used the Jay Treaty in conjunction with the Helsinki Act to make a Made in Canada narrative to get a green card and citizenship into the United States. Now, it's a great presentation. I'm still going to be doing that. We need to do this work. I put on hold for a very short time. When we get back on Total, and we're going to get that done. Like I said, I'll tag a lot of people in this after the fact. Jonathan Bahai for sure. But folks, it's not done. It's just on hold. But I have to give you this truth from the Trump administration itself. So under Helsinki, South Africa, agricultural farmers are getting that pathway. So my presentation that I've already made public, and I'm going to submit, we're going to work through that. We're going to send all those letters out. It seems Donald J. Trump has used that and signed on with South Africans, specifically those farmers who've lost their land, turfed off their land to give land back to those who it was taken from to begin with. Now, I get that, I understand that. What I can't get through to the Trump administration, at least not at this time, what they don't understand is much worse and longer running than South Africa is the Canada truth. And this is the idea that 91% of Canada is kept from us. We're in a much, much worse position than South Africa for a very, very long time. And yes, it includes Canadian First Nations too. Those deemed savages, and then as well us, the subjects, boat in the canoe. Now, USA didn't go that route, and for 100 years, they've been on a different trajectory. USA's largely settled. Over 90% of USA is available to Americans. American Indians have 1/50th of all the USA. That's right. The ratio of the states' land availability are that 91% is the American Indians' land availability ratio that way. And of course, there's still much more to do, other tribes to constitute, but they're there as equal to the states, nations within the nations. I was called lunatic for this just a few years ago. Now it's mainstream, it's out there in AI. People see America for its beautiful truth. That's not Canada, not even remotely close. In fact, completely opposite, which we're going to get into. Now, Donald J. Trump says, well, you're not being forced off your land, but I say to the Trump administration, which it's not being accepted right now. Doesn't mean it won't be in the future. I'm just saying they're not accepting it right now. They're not understanding that we are not even allocated any kind of land. There's no land availability. It is 10 times worse than the South African truth. And yes, it's sad those farmers got kicked off their land, but at least they have access to land. They could actually go buy other lands. That's not available in any way, shape, or form in Canada for anybody. Overvaluation, illegal in the United States, inhuman reality, meaning it's a violation of the fundamental human rights that the Allies made all countries promise never again with the UN Charter. Canada never transitioned out of that. They started the process, it never finished clearly. And it's the longest running system of its kind worldwide, far outpacing South Africa. But again, I need to convince the Trump administration, and we just have to work harder. They're just not ready to receive that message, or at least they're not getting it. They're not seeing the validity of the truth at this time. Or maybe too, it's that I look at it, that they see us, well, we can't let you out of Canada. You can fix Canada. We need you guys fighting. There's that angle too. But I just want people to know that we're still going for the big fight tomorrow. B7, National Arts Center, Ottawa, Ontario. Will be there 8 a.m. I'm going to be with a team. Again, it's not a protest. It's a presentation. It's dress nice, hand out flyers. We're not protesting or restricting people's access. We're giving knowledge and information. Information that goes to Pete Hoekstra, that goes to the President of the United States. Couple presentations, the business case for Canada, the 51st state, and the business case for the G7 and how much impact that will have. Falls in suit absolutely with what Donald J. Trump wants to do. It's our message to say, not only do we get that, we also see and foresee all of this. Take this presentation. We get it. We're with you. We understand. And that's important. And yes, we need to educate Canadians. So without further ado, I'm going to get into this. This presentation is heartbreaking. I know what I just said heartbreaks a lot of people too. But we never quit fighting. We never quit educating. And we keep going forward. What's not available today does not mean it won't be available tomorrow. But I want to go through this now. It's huge. It's epic. It's long. It needs to be shared. Critical knowledge for all provinces, all of Canada, the regions, the country as a whole. These are truths you can't ignore. Histories you can't ignore. A trajectory Donald J. Trump's on that he's not going to compromise on. And the proof is in the pudding. And if you don't see, again, when we get to the point of the states themselves, right now, what they're signed on to, what they're calling for Donald J. Trump to do, which he answered, if you fail to see this and you fail to see that impact on Canada, you're in La La Land. You're not seeing things as they really are. So without further ado, I'm going to go on. So I start with this. Understanding America first, be it Canada, Alberta, or Quebec. And this is specifically on secessionists, people who talk about provincial 51st state. That this is Donald J. Trump with one offer and one offer alone that he's not going to compromise on. And that's Canada, the 51st state, known as Turtle Island. This is Donald J. Trump and we the people. It's a narrative of the end of subsidizing our country, and yes, the provinces, which include Alberta and Quebec. That this is a fundamental flaw of the logic and thinking of Canadian subjects in our colonial country. It's a vast ignorance that Canadians need to get out from under, because America's taught us a lesson many times, so has the United Kingdom. They've taught us lessons many, many times, and you all need to understand that. Just gonna... Yeah, sorry everybody. Getting adjusted. Early morning, I had my coffee, but I'm still a little bit groggy. It's alright. Get it set so I get those in. Oh, it's drifting. It's funny when you impose stuff. Okay. Yeah, let's hold out. And then the really epic part, the heartbreaker. I know this is going to really impact the West, especially in fossil fuels. This is understanding the United States of America, their sovereignty through coal. And I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to back it up absolutely. Trump released this now 72 hours ago. The states have spoken. We really need nothing from you. This man has never lied to any of you. And it really shocks me as an Albertan. Well, hey, it doesn't, because it's all of Canada anyway. But what's really upsetting is that Albertans fail to see this. They're still going on, holding on to truths that have been myth busted for many, many months by the United States out of Donald J. Trump's mouth many, many times. And now it's in writing from 25 of the U.S. states, which do not care for Alberta, do not care for BC, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island, Nunavut, Northwest Territory, absolutely Yukon. 13. They could care less because they have one mandate, and that's them alone. It's called America First. Canada is not America. It's not the United States of America. A lot of people try to twist things. This is going to specifically look now, and I put it in green specifically because that represents methane, emissions and trade, global measurements. This is part of energy subsidies for Canada, and Albertans should pay attention to this because believing in your bullshit without looking at what USA is saying and doing is detrimental. That's no good for nobody. This is your bullshit Premier Danielle Smith and many, many before and will come after her in these narratives. This colonial mentality, this idea of superiority that's not shown anywhere. Shown anywhere in the United States. Any time. So I start here. I'm going to show you this. It's a long slide and I want you to see it. Contrasting trajectories. Why USA has a better record of emissions reduction than Canada. And if you don't think this doesn't cost USA and you don't take this seriously as it is, it's to your detriment. Lowering emissions, USA is killing us. Killing us. And in your trade, especially for Albertans, northern BC, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, when USA is lowering emissions in their practice, in their states, who constitute, unlike you, all of you, they have constitutions at the state level on clean water, clean air, clean soil, cement in their constitution that the U.S. federal government can't usurp. And you can see those bars and graphs below, dark green representing USA, light green representing Canada. And you realize that Canada's not making any monumental strides forward, right? And it highlights it, it goes through it, talks all about Canada, how USA continues through all of their states to lower their emissions while you don't. And they don't run a carbon tax or carbon pricing schemes. California's got its own state version, a deal with Quebec and Alberta. They run deals. There's EnviroFuels from Edmonton, Alberta, all for California. 1/3 of the planes in the air in the United States. They've got an energy deal with Quebec on hydro, clean energy source. They have carbon measuring footprints. California does that. New York's got a minor one too with Eastern Canada. Labrador, which is Quebec again, but minor. Nothing like what Canada does and Canada doesn't do. And why this is important is when we talk about the oil sands and the massive millions of barrels a day that USA is importing from Canada and how that costs USA on their end in their emissions, why they're higher. And we're going to show you rates and levels, but I want to go through it by the numbers as we go through, right? Policies and market dynamics drive emission trends. Again, USA outperforming Canada. How? Through the 50 states. We see methane, just so everybody knows, methane is responsible for 28 times the destruction of the environment than CO2. CO2 is the minor, methane's the major. Why that's important, oil sands is epic in scale and size for methane than even USA's coal. And we're going to get into that. And they show you here, they're showing you the bars. There's USA outperforming Canada by large margins. Look at two, right? Coal regulations advantage Canada on electricity emissions reduction. Then we look at USA way under, Canada again, way under. It's all in relation to oil sands versus coal USA. And USA's oil is reduced, Canada's is way higher, and USA's eating Canada's number by importing their fossil fuels from Alberta. USA's taking a hit from that. Look at that, there's Canada on the top, highest emission in methane. Remember, this is on methane, a substance that's 28 times more destructive than CO2 if you want to talk about heating the earth and destroying the atmosphere. Whether you want to hear this or not, doesn't matter, because Republican states are on board with the switch we're going to go through. All Republican states. I can't make this up. Now, you can ignore it. You can put your head in the sand as an Albertan and say, oh no, to hell with you and to hell with the environment. But the states don't agree with you. And they don't want to continue on with you in the same manner. They want to transition out of you into their own sovereignty. And you can ignore all these bars and graphs. There again, there's the states on the bottom. There's Canada way on top. And then it shows the imports and what effect that has on USA state numbers. Canada way higher than USA. So I'm going to go down here. Methane is a potent greenhouse gas, 28 times more effective than carbon dioxide at trapping heat in the atmosphere, contributes to global warming, and has various sources including fossil fuel extraction, wetlands, livestock, digestion, and landfills. Reducing methane emissions is crucial for improving air quality, enhancing energy efficiency, and protecting the environment. Sources: methane emissions, fossil fuels, production and transport of coal, oil, natural gas, release methane leaks in oil and gas systems are a significant source. How many abandoned wells unreclaimed in Alberta, right? Sources of methane emissions, fossil fuels, production and transport of coal, oil, natural gas, release methane leaks. We went through that. Agriculture, landfills. Okay, so we already hit that. Other coal mining, industrial processes, and wastewater treatments are also sources of methane emissions. Impacts of methane emissions: climate change. Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas contributing to global warming and rise in global temperatures. Air quality: methane contributes to the formation of ground level ozone, a harmful air pollutant. Human health: exposure to methane, particularly at high concentrations, can lead to methane gas poisoning, which is a form of asphyxiation. Ecosystems: methane emissions can affect ecosystems' weather patterns, reducing methane emissions. Oil and gas sector, number one. Reducing leaks, capturing and using methane, and improving flaring practices can significantly reduce emissions. Right? USA doesn't do flaring like Canada does. None of the states capitulate to that. Canada, they just burn it into the air. Release it. I'm sorry, that's the truth. You look at the USA states, they don't. Go to Texas. You're going to find they don't flare like Canada does. Their laws are way more stringent at the state level. Republican states. Now, we can ignore this, and we can pretend it's not true, and we can say, oh, to hell with environmentalism, and Trump and them, they talk about that too, so do Republican states. But it doesn't change the fact that they're greatly reducing their practices, and Canada isn't. Canada's way higher, and we're going to get into that in a minute. And that it's Canada bringing USA down, and the States are transitioning away from Canada, and you're going to see that. And we can ignore it, like we said. We can say, oh, no, it's a lie, it's not true, but it is true, and it's true with Donald J. Trump. Waste management, they talk about that, proper waste disposal, methane capture in landfills, coal mining, pre-mine decasification. We're going to get into that with the United States, and methane recovery during coal mining can reduce emissions. This is exactly what USA is doing. In fact, they're so good at it now, they outpace Canada by large margins against their oil sands now. And the Canadians don't seemingly know this. Now look at this. Global efforts, international agreements, and initiatives like the Global Methane Pledge are working to reduce global methane emissions. Guess who came up with that, where it comes from? The 50 states of the Union. The 50 states of the Union are all codified into these effects. They've been doing it for decades. Decades. They're way farther along. Now, Canada's efforts. Canada has a comprehensive strategy to reduce methane emissions, aiming for a reduction of more than 35% by 2030 compared to 2020 levels. Are they anywhere near that, folks? No, not even close. All talk, baloney. They tax the hell out of Canadians and Canadian companies, losing all our investment because nothing they say or their implemented taxation schemes have made a difference. Whereas USA is getting towards those targets, and they're not doing it by taxation, not even close, by innovation, by constitutional law at the state levels. The states themselves are achieving all this beyond anything Canada can compare to. Canada's not even close. And again, we're going to get into that. So I did this analysis because I wanted to know. So I want to show you guys something. Per capita GDP and oil gas production in relation to methane emissions. And I target 5 countries: Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, Canada, USA. You can see first per capita GDP, meaning what each of us is making and contributing to our country at the individual level. You can see at the very bottom is USA at 76,000, Canada in second place at 52,000, Saudi Arabia 25,000, China 12,500, Russia 12,000. Oil gas production estimates: number 1, Russia; number 2, China; Saudi Arabia, Canada, and of course USA. Oil gas production, there it is again. It shows USA number 1. Methane emissions, look at this: Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, Canada, USA. Now what happens when we put these 3 factors together? So analysis: per capita GDP and methane emissions overview. To analyze the per capita GDP, meaning per each person, and each person's oil and gas production in relation to how much methane they put for Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, Canada, and USA, we will consider the most recent data available as of 2025. Where do we sit per person? Well, number 1 is Russia, per capita GDP. They're the number 1 polluters. Then China, then Saudi Arabia, then Canada, then USA. Or sorry, this is GDP again. Sorry. It's showing you that again. I'm sorry. And then oil and gas production, number 1, Russia per person, China, Saudi Arabia, meaning not per person GDP, but per person production. Saudi Arabia, Canada, and USA, number 1. Right? We're going through that. Methane emissions data, right? Russia, high methane emissions due to oil and gas extraction practices. China, significant emissions from coal mining and natural gas production. Saudi Arabia, high emissions due to excessive oil production activities. Canada, notable emissions from oil sands operations and natural gas extraction. USA high levels of methane emissions from fracking and agriculture. Now ranking per capita methane emissions. Number one in the world, Saudi Arabia. Per capita GDP combined with extensive oil sands production leads to high methane emissions relative to population size, meaning Saudi Arabia per person is putting out the most methane to achieve their GDP with their results of oil, gas. They're number one polluters in the world. Number two, look at that. Who's that? Who's number two? When we put all these factors together per person, it's you, Canada. You're the second worst in the entire world. Second worst. Who's number three? USA. And why is USA? Because a mass amount of their imports are coming from Canada, specifically Alberta. A massive amount of that 13 million barrels a day. 4 million are coming from the Alberta oil sands. Then Russia, and then last on the list is China per person methane. Yeah. Conclusion based on this analysis. Worst, Saudi Arabia. Number two, Canada. Worst in the world, folks. Look who you're up against. USA's third. And again, why? Because their contributions are mostly from Canada. The 50 states aren't taking it. And you're going to see they're all Republican states, by the way. Just wait. And you can all ignore this. Like I said, ignore Trump, ignore MAGA, ignore the 25 Republican states signed on to what I'm about to show you. That was just released 72 hours. You won't hear a lick of this from the media. And again, it's not about what you believe. It's about what is. It's not what I believe. It's about what is. This is what is. This is where USA at the 50 state level is going. And it's entirely Republicans. Meaning you can't go, oh, that's the Democrats. This is what USA is doing right now. What they published they're going to do 8 months ago. And what Trump released 72 hours that he had in his hand from April 5th and April 8th exclusively. Right? Carney went there like a cuck. And then he releases this 72 hours ago. Oh, by the way, I have something to show you. And we're going to get into that. This ranking reflects respective contributions to methane emissions on a per capita basis, meaning Canadians are the second worst polluters in the entire world, far exceeding the United States. And USA would move down rankings by ditching Canada, by ditching Alberta. And you know what? We're going to get into that. But Russia and China are outperforming USA right now. Do you think USA likes that? Do you think USA likes subsidizing Canada to get a lower ranking? Do you think so? Do you think the 50 states in their constitutions, where President Donald J. Trump's primary mandate is to secure their security? Not Alberta's, I can tell you that. Not Ontario's, I can tell you that. Not Quebec's, I can tell you that. So these authoritative resources we're talking about, and you better wake up. International Energy Agency, that's some serious stuff. That's all USA on that. Global Methane Initiative, that's all USA too. World Bank, largely, yes, from the United Nations, but who's got control of that? Well, the five allies of World War II, and USA's number one on that. It's not stuff you ignore. So, the United States has approximately 254.2 billion tons of proven coal reserves. This represents 22.31% of the world's total coal reserves and is enough to last the current population. I'm sorry, I'm going to reduce that for you. So I want everybody to see this. It's enough to last the current population of the United States for 348 years at current consumption levels. The USA Energy Information Administration, remember we went through that, EIA, estimates that USA's recoverable coal reserves at 250 billion short tons, according to the U.S. Energy Administration, EIA. Look at that. They don't need you. I want you all to take a good look at this picture. Trump signs executive order on coal production, transforming USA into 250 years, rapidly increasing coal, right? Look, he did this more than a month ago. It was back in very early April. We're going to get into more of that. Everyone's celebrating, and Canadians, Albertans, you don't want to look at this. Like, oh, who cares? Well, I'm going to tell you why you should care and why we went through methane emissions. So here we go. I'm going to blow this up. And this is why colonial mentalities of crown people have always been shit. Really, honestly. So, yes, coal can produce natural gas through various processes. One way is through coal bed methane CBM extraction, where natural gas, primary methane, is found within the coal itself. Additionally, coal can be converted into synthetic natural gas, SNG, through gasification and methanation processes. Methanation, reducing your methane output. Coal bed methane, CBM, natural gas primary methane, is naturally present within coal deposits, trapped within the coal structure. The CBM can be extracted and added to the natural gas supply. AI overview. Yes, the United States does source some natural gas from coal. But what would happen, like executive order, where USA doubles that? Specifically, a significant amount of natural gas is obtained through coal bed methane, CBM extraction, where methane is extracted from coal seams. Additionally, coal can be converted into synthetic natural gas in a process like the one used. What's this? The Great Plains Synfuels Plant, Montana. Hey, isn't that a way Alberta? Oh, yeah. How does Alberta get its pipelines to the United States? Oh, yeah. Because we know Trans Mountain goes to China now, not USA. We know that, right? I hope you all know that. Yes, the United States could theoretically use coal to replace some natural gas if necessary, but doing so would be a significant step back in terms of environmental concerns and energy efficiency. While coal is a readily available and inexpensive energy source in the USA, it also produces significantly more pollutants and greenhouse gas emissions than natural gas. So, what did we just go through about the oil sands? So, if USA, looking at this in the 50 states, were to say, hey, you know what? Let's get rid of our number one source of these pollutants, called the oil sands, and transition over here at the 50 state level, our methane would be lower. Our methane would be lower. And they calculate that too. That was the first things I just showed you in the first slides, that oil sands is much higher than the coal in the process the 50 states used to do it. So, in fact, switching back to the states and this system, which is exactly what Donald J. Trump's doing, exactly, we're going to get into more of it, would be less pollution than entertaining Canada and Alberta, especially Alberta oil sands. It would be lower. It would make USA not third place, but fourth place between China and Russia, meaning USA not only energy sovereign, state made, but would move USA below and between Russia and China, not just a little bit better than Canada. Facts. Facts matter. And this is happening. It's not a guess or this could happen. This is absolutely happening right now and has been happening since April of this year. And published 72 hours ago by Donald J. Trump and 25 of his states of the Union who are Republican. Do you get that, Canadians? They're Republican states. Comparative emissions. While both coal and oil sands operate and contribute to greenhouse gas emissions, some research indicates, which I gave you already, that oil sands can have a higher carbon footprint than coal, especially during extraction and upgrading stages. In situ versus surface mining, and you know in situ, right? This is all of our northern stuff. This is all Cold Lake and everything else going all the way up to Fort McMurray. You know that, right? We're not talking the open pit mining. In situ operations can produce significantly more greenhouse gas emissions per barrel of oil than surface mining. And that's coal too, folks. AI overview. No, Alberta oil is not the cleanest oil in the world. Now, like Leduc, our sweet versus our sour, our open pit or in situ, that's excessively dirty. And unfortunately, Albertans, wakey, that's 80% of what you are producing and selling out to the world, largely to the United States, represents a lion's share of what they import from you. While Alberta oil sands have made improvements in emissions, they are still considered more carbon intensive and methane intensive and sulfur intensive than conventional oil production methods that I just went through. This has been forever and a day. Nobody argues this. And they generally and significantly more greenhouse gases, which methane, 28 times worse than CO2 compared to other types of oil and even coal. This is the killer. This is the killer that Albertans, Canadians don't want to see. This is on Donald J. Trump's timeline. And I want to blow it up first. I'm going to show you. Look, what do you see there? Virginia, Kentucky, Republican states, President Donald J. Trump. I'll read it to you. As Attorney General of West Virginia and Kentucky, both of them, we write to you to express our profound gratitude for yesterday's executive orders standing up for America's coal industry. Your decisive leadership marks a critical turning point for our state's sovereignty, our energy independence, security, and our Appalachians families' futures. America needs coal. It provides unparalleled benefits as an energy source, offering exceptional reliability and consistency. The so-called green energy can't match. It's America's most abundant fossil fuel with centuries worth of reserves ready to fuel America's manufacturing and energy security into the far, far future. And it goes on because this is all about the transition away from Canada. That's what it really is. It's for the States. Now, here's the two, and I want you to look at that. I want you to see something here because I want to get you to understand. You see that logo of the state? You see the two guys there? I'm going to blow it up. I can't blow it up any bigger. State of Virginia. Then I want you to see the state of Kentucky. You see how it is. You see the image, right? Because the next one's important. So I want to show you how it's another set of states. And there's the signatures, right, of both. And the governor and then their attorney generals. Committed states. Absolutely. And it's constitutional. And they're saying, yes, President, you're doing your job. Here's the rest of the states of the Union. I just want to make you aware that that's not Kentucky. That's a whole different state. And I'm sorry, I can't blow them up here. I'd have to go to the pictures. And you can see that one there. That's not Kentucky. So these are 23 other states. And this letter, and look, they're all on board with it. This is all on Trump's Truth Social. Letters addressed to Donald J. Trump. Every state governor and attorney general, all of them on behalf of the governor, meaning they have the governor's stamp and authority. Look, all of them. Half of the United States. So then I give you this. Reintroducing history. You need to know history. All Canadians. This is all people. Whether you're a successionist in a province or a 51st stater in a province, you need to understand that USA has presented this before. This has all happened before, and this is via Benjamin Ebley, and I thank him for it. A little part of it, not all of it. A bunch of it's mine, but this part of history is from Benjamin Ebley. America, much older than us, much older than our country. Their history is much older. So it's going to go backwards here. I want you to understand, the year before we became a country, we were in 1866, at the end of the American Civil War, where America had a choice. Go to war with British North America, meaning get rid of the British Empire, or go to war with the Spanish over slavery and all of it. They had a choice to make, and that's what they did. They finished the Civil War. They removed Spain from all those southern states, all Spanish colonialism. Now it was time for the Brits. And they were like, we want this gone. Do we go to war with Spain or Britain? So I want to show you this. The year before we became a country. In 1866, British North America lost its preferred trade status with the United States due to the end of the Reciprocity Treaty. This led to discussions about joining the USA, particularly highlighted by the Confederation debates and proposals from various leaders, including those in East Canada, Quebec, and those in West Canada, Ontario, Upper and Lower Canada. Ultimately, this culminated in the formation of the Dominion of Canada in 1867, instead of outright joining the United States. We were forced, and I'll show you why. The Reciprocity Treaty had been in effect since 1854. It allowed for free trade between British North America and the United States. However, when it expired in 1866, British North America faced economic challenges due to increased tariffs imposed by the United States. Sound familiar? This situation prompted discussions among Canadian leaders about potential union or annexation to the United States as a solution to their economic difficulties. Why were they in this situation? Right? USA said, it's time to make a decision. Right? Because this is British North America. This is Canada under British control and occupation. We were a colony. And USA saying, look, we're doing all this for you, but the time has come. 66 Civil War over, time for you to become a state of the Union. And they almost did. This was Ontario and Quebec almost did. But of course, Britain said, okay, we'll make you a country. We'll give you all these privileges and rights that were never achieved. We never got our provincial constitutions. None of it. It was all a lie. Not only to trick the United States, but to trick the would-be Canadians who would become a country under bullshit. But why was USA ending the Reciprocity Treaty? Why? Well, you're going to get to that. During this period, there's significant political movements advocating. So that was still John Yeah, like but ultimately John A. Macdonald, who was put here to get Canadians, would-be Canadians, British subjects, to become Canada the country, then seeking statehood. Everybody else wanted statehood. Ontario and Quebec people wanted statehood. But John A. Macdonald, and then they didn't even do conventions by the people or any delegation or founding father system. It was all a bunch of British imposed people imposing some kind of bullshit country without any referendum by the people. Right? So that's the history of Canada and the Confederation. Reciprocity Treaty, where does that come? Library of Congress. Canada doesn't even have this. Again, thank you, Benjamin Ebley. But I want to go through more. So, the burning of Parliament buildings in Montreal occurred April 25th, 1849, during protests against the Rebellion Losses Bill, which followed a period of economic hardship, partly caused by the repeal of the Corn Laws in 1846, resulting in the loss of favoured trade status with the United Kingdom. The UK took away pre-Canadians, meaning British subjects of what is Canada now, us British North Americans, if your families were here in that upper and lower Canada, right? You lost all trade with the UK. They cut you out. It was the repeal of Corn Laws, meaning you don't get to sell your corn. You lost free trade with the UK because UK needed to protect their country and sacrifice the colony. And that's why you made a trade deal with USA, and they gave it to you for 6 years. And then they said, listen, all your trades move to us. You're supposedly a British colony, but the British want nothing from you. They extract money and taxation from you. Why not ditch them and join the Union? You won't have to pay anymore. And then we got made into Canada, where we continue to do that forever, including till today. USA made this argument to us. Folks, look at it. Almost 200 years ago, 175 years ago, 174 years ago, they told you this. They told you this 174 years ago. That should scare you. But apparently it doesn't. Canadians don't ever learn. They like to be willing cucks. Old King Cuck Carney, that's who you elected, that's who you believe in. But even this day, before Confederation, we were already getting ass fucked by the UK. And Canadians are getting that today exactly the same way. This is American history. This is not found in any Canadian history easily. There's definitely no mention of this in Canada's system. You have to go to the USA to get it. Look, Wikipedia, you get Canada East Encyclopedia, but it's Wikipedia and it's all American. It's all American. You won't even find this stuff in Canada. Erased history. So introduction, Corn Laws were a set of tariffs and trade restrictions on imported food and corn enforced by the United Kingdom between 1815 and 1846. So, right? Is USA the bad guy, or is UK the bad guy? Who's the bad guy here? Well, UK is, of course, but Canadians don't believe it. Just like, who's the bad guy? Is it Donald J. Trump, or is it your politicians? Right? We can go through all that. And it was repealed. And this is what screwed British North America, meaning Canadians, everything that's Canada today. In 1846, the free traders won out. Corn Laws were done away with. And the repeal had a devastating effect on British North America, meaning no more Canadians' corn anymore. We had to make a trade deal with the North American colonies turned into the United States. The United States became our trading partner. And that's how it's always been since, Canadians. And USA said, hey, you know what? We do all the trade for you. We help you. We're trying to subsidize you. We're trying to get you to be annexed. Come on, join the union. You need everything from us anyway. And they've been patient since all this time. And they tried to throw it. Canada became a country and continued to serve the British Empire. And we still do today. We still do today. Right? Look, economic consequences of the repeal. And according to one study, and this is in Britain, not Canada, yeah, it benefited the bottom 90%, but not the 10%, right? Sound familiar? Assigned equity of the person. Look at that. This is Danielle Smith the other day. I want to go through this. Danielle Smith slams federal policy crippling Alberta's resources. What we do produce to a single customer to the south. So Danielle Smith is blaming Ottawa because she can only trade with the United States. It's always been that way. Hello, Albertans, I just showed you. It's always been only the United States because UK don't give two shits about us. But yet we're codified as British subjects. Absolute. And Danielle Smith's blaming Ottawa for why can't we go out on the world stage and trade to China? Where is Alberta's ships? Where's Alberta's military to secure those ships? So Canada's supposed to do that? Canada's supposed to do that for Alberta? Deliver Alberta over to the world? To which customers? Communist China? Because that's where it's going right now. Aframax Canada is shipping under the banner of communism straight to China. That's your other customer, Alberta. It's USA or China. Because UK don't want you. They haven't wanted you at all. There's a thing called Brent, the most expensive oil in the world. Why is it the most expensive? Because it doesn't allow Alberta oil. Canada and Alberta only exist to serve the British Empire, and it doesn't serve the British Empire since 1846 to have Alberta or Canadian products against the British products. And again, WTI is not the world dominant oil. Brent is for crude. Hello? Hello, where's your Alberta Constitution? Oh, that's a pesky thing. I want to be a British subject. Right? Is Danielle Smith the good guy or the bad guy? Is Donald J. Trump the good guy or the bad guy? Danielle Smith is the bad guy. I'm sorry, folks. We're going to go through her video that you all love. Right? I love being a British subject and being complacent, ignorant, and foolish. I love to blame the United States. I love to betray the United States. I love to be subsidized by the United States. United States owes me, take care of me, take care of all my needs and my resources go to world market. The states pay, I don't. And just so you all know, every state of the union, whatever producer, everywhere they pipeline and go, they got to pay an enfranchise tax. Everywhere they go, they got to reciprocate it forward. Do you think Alberta gets out of that as a state of the union? No. They got to pay. Is it less than equalization? Sure. But it doesn't change the fact that Alberta becomes responsible to pay it all forward. It's not a free ride. You don't get, oh yeah, don't worry, we'll do it all for you. You're privileged. You're entitled. We'll even find your customers. We'll invest in you. You don't invest in us. And that's really what we're going to get into right now. And it's the end for Alberta, absolutely. Preferred status is gone, just like those many decades long before 1856, all the way up to post-Canada becoming a country. And then USA said, okay, we'll give you another chance. Because they thought that they would codify, they read the Constitution, thought, oh, there's potential here. And patiently they waited. Well, Donald Trump isn't waiting anymore. He goes, you know what? You've had 150 years to get your shit together. You never did. And you cost us. The $200 billion subsidy is going to end. And Alberta, you're getting subsidized. I just went through the methane. USA is taking the hit for you, and they don't have to. And now the states are calling on Donald J. Trump to reciprocate their sovereignty, their energy security, to replace Alberta. And he capitulated because that's his job. That's what a president's supposed to do, whether he likes it or not. So he gives you an offer called Canada the 51st State. He says, the only thing I can do is this because I can't do anything else. That's all I'm able to do as president. I can open a door your whole country's got to go through like it always has been since 1856. Always has been, never changed. And Canadians don't get it because you don't want to read history. You don't want to know the truth. You have no respect for America. You have no respect for everything they do for you or tried to do for you. And they've been very patient. Well, the patient father's gone. You're a teenager now. You're willful, disobedient. You're selling the same bag of lies and bullshit. You have not evolved since 1856. You have not evolved one lickety split. The belt's off for Donald Trump, and he's going, I'm going to do what I should have done. Well, what American presidents should have done almost 175 years ago. And they should have belted your ass and continued on. And I mean, they did for 10 years, but then they let off the gas and said, okay, we'll give you another chance as a country now to transition out of this. And World War II came, Canada promised they would. They didn't. King George VI promised he would. Elizabeth took over, they didn't. And now Trump's looking at all the history as an originalist, as a real Republican, saying, you know what? It's time to go back to 1856. The belt is off. I'm going to beat the hell out of every province, the whole country, and we're going to strap you for your absolute idiocracy. And look at the likes and loves on her. 6.4K for Alberta. That's scary. That's a scary amount of stupidity. Really. Pure on ignorance. And Americans look at that at the highest levels and they go, these people are sick. They know you're just as sick in Alberta as you are in Ontario or Quebec. It don't matter. You're all, in large majority, suffering from the same delusions, institutionalization, as those British North American subjects did in 1856. You haven't changed. In fact, you're worse. You're actually worse. We've gotten worse. So she goes on, us while enabling polluting dictatorships. Which dictatorships? I just showed you the chart. Who's number 2 in the world? Right? Well, it's not USA. It's Saudi Arabia, sure. And Canada's second place. So what exactly dictatorships besides Saudi Arabia are you talking about? Because it certainly isn't Russia, China, or USA. It isn't those. Are those the ones? Which dictatorships? There's only Saudi Arabia. You're only outperformed in pollution by Saudi Arabia, a fellow dictatorship, because we're a pure autocracy. And anyone saying otherwise is a liar. This woman is a liar. Canadians, you lie to yourself. Albertans, you're lying to yourself. And it's federal policies, she says, that are crippling Alberta's resources. No, it's Alberta's policies, Alberta's crown crippling Alberta. And USA isn't going to tolerate it anymore. Don't worry, we got more to go through. Danielle Smith slams federal policies. For Alberta, these attacks on our province by our own federal government have become unbearable. Well, you won't have to worry about it soon. You won't have to worry about equalization soon. You won't, Albertans. I'm telling you. You're going to be game over with the United States. They're not going to eat your costs of pollution. They're going to transition to coal and replace you and have lower emissions and make their targets and fall between Russia and China, swapping first and second place. That's USA's trajectory at the 50 states. I just showed you the letter of transition. Half the states of the Union, all Republican. So you better get your head out of your fucking ass. $500 billion in investment. Whose investment? Oh, United States of America. He said, we lost $500 billion. USA owes us. They got to invest. Who says USA has to? Don't you think $500 billion belongs in the United States for the United States? Well, Donald J. Trump and 25 states of the Union think so. Fact sheet, undeniable. I just showed you Danielle Smith. Fact sheet, President Donald J. Trump secures a historic $1.2 trillion economic commitment in Qatar. Little Qatar. Easily Alberta should be a Qatar. When's Alberta invested into the United States? Hey, anyone out there, raise your hand. How many times has Alberta offered up $1.2 trillion in economic investment into the United States? Oh, you expect it the other way. Well, this was yesterday, folks. This is yesterday. Little Qatar making American manufacturing and innovation great again. Today in Qatar, President Donald J. Trump signed an agreement with Qatar to generate an economic exchange worth at least $1.2 trillion. President Trump announced economic deals totaling more than $243.5 billion between the United States and Qatar, including an historic sale of Boeing aircraft and GE Aerospace engines in Qatar, American manufacturing technology, a golden path. I just want to get to the point where you need. There's 7. Are partnering with the United States following the president. A few money. But I want to get into this 1.2 billion because that's 96 billion. Yeah, there's aircraft, 96 billion. It's 154,000 jobs for the USA annually, totaling over 1 million jobs in the United States during the course of production delivery of this deal. Here it is. McDermott has a strong partnership with Qatar Energy in advancing critical energy infrastructure. Bye-bye, Alberta. Project's worth $8.5 billion. As the sole provider of offshore components for Qatar's major LNG expansion, McDermott's work directly supports thousands of USA energy sector jobs. And there's 7 projects here. LNG, oil, all of it. Bye-bye, Alberta. Bye-bye. We're going to get $500 billion in investment so we can go to China. That was Danielle Smith. To all of you, and you all loved it in Alberta. And a good majority, you all love it. We're going to be independent. We're going to do all these things. Really? How are you making the United States better? Well, we're showing you how Qatar is. Qatar's got a good deal. And it's mutually beneficial. Add those Californians on. They had a word for that. I'm going to have to get Jonathan Bahai. I've already forgot the word. And it's a Webster word. The Canadians have never heard before. Not one Canadian in that space knew what that word. They'd never even heard it before. It was crazy. Yeah, massive $1.2 trillion deal. And that's just little Qatar. Little Qatar. Oh, by the way, Qatar has the world's 3rd biggest source of natural gas. Little Qatar. Never mind offshore oil and all of it. It's very sad. Very sad. The mentality of Albertans, all Canadians, not just Albertans, it's all Canadians. But the truth is right in your face. You're being replaced right in front of your face. And you don't want to believe it. You don't want to believe it. And deal after deal, it's in. Oh, look, Qatar's greenfield investment in the United States totaled these are the 7, right? 3.3 billion, right? And they're advancing that, doubling it. Where's Alberta investing in USA? Oh, they're not. It's about me. What are you going to do for me? Give me. I have a right to it. You do it for me. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I get it. You want a huge trade. You want USA to take on a huge trade deficit with you. Alberta is a massive source of USA trade deficit. And the states are moving on. Again, it's right here. With deals like this, Trump is getting rid, look at that, advanced manufacturing, financial services, and oil and gas. $5.64 billion. Look at 18 billion investments in the USA energy sector with ExxonMobil's Golden Pass LNG terminal. 10 billion went there. 8 went into Chevron's Chemical Golden Triangle, Palmer's plant. 8 billion. That's all through oil. That's all through oil. Alberta, get your fucking head out of your ass. Look at this. Qatar is our 12th largest foreign military sales partner, with active cases valued at more than 26 billion. They're outperforming fucking Canada. Little Qatar. And you want to talk about your entitlement? It's going to happen or else I'm going to separate. What are you going to separate into? USA is going to knock you on your fucking ass. That's what's going to happen. 51st state of Alberta? This is a Quebec delusion too. This is an Ontario delusion at the national level, the Laurentian delusion. You're nothing to the United States. You're opposite of a deal like this. And the White House is showing you this. This has been posted. They're going live right now. Trump's doing a tour as I'm giving this video. He's live this morning. He's in one of those military complexes right now. Yeah. In one of those $26 billion investment deals in American military that outpaces Canada by a large margin. Little Qatar. Little Qatar. Trump's going to be doing these deals all through. Hey, where's Qatar on the list of pollution countries? Oh, they're not there. Oh, it lowers USA's pollution index. Oh, okay. Replacing Alberta with Qatar massively lowers USA, meaning they can go into more and more coal for the 50 states. Jeez. Wow. Serving the 50 states' constitutions, bringing investment into those 50 states. Canada, you got to get your head out of your ass. Albertans, get your head out of your ass. You can forget about your prosperity. And if you don't believe it, go back in time. British North America. I know. I don't want to read. I don't want to look at USA history over my ancestors. Nuh-uh. That's crap. I don't care. Well, you will be caring because you're going bankrupt. You're going tits up. You're going to be a third world country or a third world sub-region. Alberta's going to be no exception. In fact, Alberta's going to get hit the hardest of all of them. That's idiocracy at its finest. Look at this. Today's announcement builds up on yesterday's $600 billion investment commitment secured in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia investing $500 billion into USA. Saudi Arabia isn't beating Alberta in oil. Why isn't Alberta announcing any kind of investments in the United States? No, it won't. USA, give me what I tell you. Give me. And then look at this. It also follows the announcement of a historic trade agreement with the United Kingdom and a joint agreement with China to reduce reciprocal tariffs. Canada is totally fucked, including Alberta. They're in that deal. Alberta beef, Alberta pork, Alberta canola, and all the Albertans and Canadians are, who cares? Those things are all bad anyway. Well, I guess oil is bad too. Everything we make is bad, so we shouldn't sell anything to anybody and we should go bankrupt, right? We should be a third world country. That's according to Canadians. And we can survive the winter alone, freezing to death, cold in the dark. That's what Canadians think's normal. And I even see Albertans do it. And I just shake my head. That's bad for you. I'm better than everybody in the world. I don't need economy. It's so twisted, sick, and fucked. This country of ours is so fucked. President Trump is building on his record of success with Qatar, exemplified for his leadership in the 2019 GE Aerospace Genetics engine sale to power Qatar Airways, the newly acquired Boeing aircraft, a monumental purchase in the history of both companies. As the deal maker in chief, President Trump's latest achievement in Qatar is another win for America. An absolute win, an absolute disaster for Canada, an absolute nail in Alberta's coffin. I give it to you all straight as it really is. I can't make this shit up. It's in the White House. And if you don't want to look at it, it's you who's going down the toilet. Benjamin Ebley already knows it's all true. We had a long talk last night, at least between periods in the hockey via video conference. He knows. He's American. He's going, yeah, man, this is... I talked to AI. They even say the only way is 51st state of Canada. But they're going to keep going with the province. I mean, you got to move the mountain, and maybe it'll have an effect for all of Canada. But Albertans are real sick, and I think Ben sees it clearly now as an American. You'd have to be crazy not to, and I mean, he admits that. It's just, when are Canadians going to wake up? And this is from everywhere, from Alberta to Ontario, Atlantic, doesn't matter, East Coast, West Coast, doesn't matter, far Arctic North, Canadians, First Peoples, you've got to wake up, because you're going to be on the breadlines. And these things, once secured like this, these are monumental disasters because they don't go anywhere. Who's going to end a deal like that? Tell me who's going to end any of these deals. It's going to last for decades. This is decades worth of destruction against Canada, against Alberta's energy sector, and you're all still going along like, I'm going to do this. USA will give me what I tell them to give me, or this country will give me what I want. Why would they? Why would they? What are you doing for any of these other countries? Sweet fuck all, put your hands out saying, I'm entitled. You must do this for me. You obviously don't know how the world works, and you know what? That comes from being a colony. That comes from being a slave. I wait for my supper. The crown will deliver my supper. Give me, me. I don't do for me. You do for me. I wait for the government to do it for me. I bitch and cry, and government gimme. Well, that never works. That's not how the world works. That's my video, everybody. Epic, truthful, a reality, day after day, week after week, months after months. We're months into this now. The destruction economically of Canada across all provinces is very real and in your face right now. And if Albertans don't see that they're being replaced deal after deal, just in a week, Alberta's lost massive GDP, energy and agriculturally. Never mind Ontario and the rest. Everybody's taking a hit here. But right now, as of yesterday, Alberta's taken now the biggest hit in Canada. They just overtook per capita the automotive loss in Ontario. Not that it's a big deal. It is a big deal in Ontario. But this energy deal has really crippled Alberta. The coal announcement really crippled Alberta. And that was a month ago. So Trump released it 3 days ago, but it's basically like, look what I've been had in my hand. And stupid Carney has no idea. This is how dumb and daft your politicians are. Not up to speed, not up to task. We're screwed. Folks, share this video. Get it out there. It needs to be seen. God bless. Enjoy your day. See you all tomorrow, I hope. At least Ontario and Quebec. Folks, come out. Dress nice, dress clothes, business attire, suit and tie, dress or business suit for ladies, please. Again, it's not a protest. This is a presentation. You will be handing out flyers with me. We will be talking to those entering the program. During the day, we can go for lunch. If people want to go do the tour of it, you can too. You can pay for that. I'm there to give a presentation, to stand at the doors, handing out flyers. Hopefully we come across Pete Hoekstra. God bless everybody. Be there or be square, because if you want a reality where Canada's third world, keep doing what you're doing. If you want to fight that narrative and make a difference, be there tomorrow, National Arts Centre, Ottawa, Ontario, 8 a.m. I know.